His lawyer leaned in and whispered 5 words. Just 5 words. And I watched the color drain out of Vincent's face. The smug, self-satisfied smirk, the one I had stared at across the breakfast table for 15 years, vanished instantly. He went paper white. His hands, which had been so eager to sign the divorce decree just seconds ago, started trembling. The papers rattled against the mahogany table like dry leaves in a storm. And me, for the first time in 3 years, I smiled. But I'm getting ahead of myself to truly appreciate the look of absolute terror in my ex-husband's eyes. You need to understand how we got there. You need to understand how a woman everyone thought had lost her mind, a woman everyone pitied as the discarded wife, actually played the longest, most patient game of her life. My name is Alexis Dunst. I'm 34 years old. And until 3 months ago, I was married to Vincent Mercer. 15 years of marriage. That's longer than most Hollywood relationships, longer than some small countries have existed, and definitely longer than my patience should have lasted. But I'm stubborn. I get that from my grandmother. I met Vincent when I was 17. I wasn't a genius, but I was practical. I wanted out of my parents' house, so I took a job at a law firm, Henderson and Price, minimum wage, maximum paper cuts. By 18, I was a legal assistant. I was good with numbers, good with details, and most importantly, good at keeping my mouth shut and my eyes open. Vincent was 24. He was charming, ambitious, and full of dreams about building a real estate empire. He talked about the future like it was already his property. He said he was going to build something incredible. I said I'd help him file the paperwork. Romance, right? We married when I was 19. Tyler, our son, came along when I was 20. For years, I worked at the law firm part-time, raising our son, building my 401k, and saving every spare dollar. My grandmother always told me, "A woman should have her own money, Alexis. Not secret money, just her own, something nobody can take." When Vincent's business finally took off, he asked me to quit the firm. He needed someone he could trust to manage the books, handle clients, and coordinate contractors. So I became his unpaid everything: bookkeeper, office manager, interior decorator, event planner. For 11 years, I poured myself into building Vincent's dream. And for 11 years, he got the credit. At every industry gala, I was just Vincent's wife. He thanked his team, his mentors, his vision. But somehow, he never quite got around to thanking me. Somewhere along the way, the dynamic shifted. He started making decisions without me. He started criticizing the way I dressed, the meals I cooked. He told me I lacked ambition. Can you imagine? I was running his entire back office for free while raising his child, but I wasn't ambitious enough. Then came the Tuesday evening 3 months ago. I was making his favorite dinner because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. He sat me down at the kitchen table between the salt shaker and the butter dish and looked at me with this business-like expression. He said, "I want a divorce, and I want the house, the cars, and the business, everything. You can keep Tyler." He said it like he was ordering from a menu. "I'll have the assets. Hold the child, thanks." Like our 15-year-old son was a leftover pizza he didn't want to deal with. What I didn't know then was that Vincent had been planning this for months. He had already hired a shark of a lawyer, Harold Whitfield. He had his exit strategy mapped out while I was scheduling his dentist appointments. The next day, his mother, Lorraine, showed up. Lorraine is a woman who treated me like the help for a decade and a half. She arrived with her perfectly styled hair and her practiced sympathy face to help me pack. And by help, I mean she went through my belongings and decided what I was allowed to keep. She told me, "Men have needs, dear. You should have tried harder to keep him happy." She packed my clothes in garbage bags, not boxes. Garbage bags, like I was trash being taken out to the curb. She told me I couldn't take any jewelry Vincent had bought me, or any furniture, or anything of value. "Marital assets," she chirped. Even my grandmother's recipe box, she hesitated on that one, like she was considering keeping it for herself. Vincent moved me into the guest room. Then, within 2 weeks, he started bringing her around. Brittany Sawyer, 27 years old. Then I documented everything. Every hidden mortgage, every gambling loss. I put copies in a safe deposit box, and then I waited. I knew a man like Vincent would eventually leave. I just had to be ready. So when Vincent demanded the house, the business, and the cars, I almost laughed out loud. He wasn't asking for assets. He was demanding debt. He just didn't know it yet. Back in the present, I sat in Nina's office and placed 3 binders on her desk. 3 years of evidence. When she finished reading, the pity was gone from her eyes. She looked at me with something like awe. She smiled a slow, dangerous smile and said, "Mrs. Dunst, I believe I owe you an apology. I thought you had given up." I smiled back. Everyone thinks that. That's the point. The next 3 months were a masterclass in acting. I became exactly what they wanted me to be. Broken. I showed up to mediation with red eyes and trembling hands. I spoke softly. I told the mediator, "I just want enough to start over. I know the business is his life's work. I don't want to be difficult." I requested a settlement of just $50,000 cash and my personal belongings. That's it. Vincent agreed immediately. He looked at me across the table with pity, like he was a king tossing a coin to a beggar. His arrogance grew daily. He told his golf buddies I was weak. Lorraine bragged to her church group that I didn't get a dime. To celebrate his victory, Vincent bought himself a new $15,000 watch, using company funds, of course, and took Brittany to a French restaurant. Brittany, meanwhile, started redecorating my house. She painted my kitchen gray. I had spent 3 weeks choosing a specific sage green. It was warm, inviting. She painted over it with builder-grade gray. Gray like her personality, gray like her future with Vincent. But while the adult played games, Tyler was watching. He noticed the new watch. He noticed the shopping bags. But he also heard Vincent say he couldn't afford the school trip to Washington, D.C. He heard the excuses. One night, Tyler came to my tiny, cramped apartment. He sat at my secondhand table and asked, "Mom, is Dad actually rich?" I squeezed his hand. "Trust me, just wait a little longer." My 15-year-old figured out something was wrong before 2 lawyers and a certified accountant did. The trap was set in the paperwork. The main divorce agreement stated I was relinquishing all claims to marital property, but attached to that agreement was an addendum, a liability disclosure statement. It listed every single debt, every mortgage, every loan, and the clause was clear. By accepting the assets, Vincent Mercer assumed sole responsibility for all attached liabilities. 2 weeks before the hearing, Vincent's lawyer, Harold, actually tried to do his job. He called Nina. He wanted an audit. But when Harold brought this to Vincent, Vincent shut him down. "No audits. I built that company. I know what it's worth. Brittany wants this done now. No delays." Harold, bless him, made Vincent sign a waiver stating he was declining a financial review against legal advice. Vincent signed it without reading it. Never underestimate the power of an impatient mistress to make a man skip the fine print. That brings us back to Thursday, April 17th, 9 a.m., courtroom 4B. Vincent was wearing his charcoal Armani suit. He looked confident, relaxed. Brittany was waiting in the hallway. Lorraine was in the gallery, ready to celebrate. I walked in wearing a simple navy dress, no jewelry, hair in a bun. I looked defeated. Judge Patricia Holden presided. She's seen it all. She asked me, "Mrs. Dunst, you are given up substantial property. Are you certain this is what you want? Are you being coerced?" I looked down at my hands, made my voice shake just a little. "No, Your Honor. I just want my husband to have everything he asked for. I want this to be over." The judge hesitated, but she allowed it. We signed. Vincent signed eagerly. I signed slowly, savoring every stroke of the pen. Then Harold Whitfield picked up the full document package for a final review. He reached the addendum, the liability disclosure. I watched his eyes scan the numbers. I watched him flip back a page, then forward, confusion turning to horror. He leaned toward Vincent and whispered, "Sir, we need to talk. You're assuming all debt." Vincent waved him off. Harold whispered louder, urgent. "The mortgages, the business lines, it's all here. You're assuming personal liability for everything." For the first time, Vincent actually looked at the paper. House, $1.1 million owed. Business, $480,000. Debt. Vehicles, $115,000 lease obligations. Net value, negative $300,000. He didn't win a lottery. He won the bill. Vincent stood up, chair scraping loudly. "This isn't right. She hid this from me. This is fraud." Judge Holden was not having it. "Sit down, Mr. Mercer." "These numbers are fake," Vincent yelled. "Sit down." The judge looked at the disclosure. Then she looked at Vincent. "Mr. Mercer, are you telling this court you don't know your own financial situation? These are your signatures on the loans." Harold Whitfield cleared his throat, looking like he wanted to disappear. "Your Honor, I advise my client to conduct a review." He declined. "I have the waiver here." The silence in that courtroom was heavy. The judge looked at the waiver. "You assumed this risk voluntarily, Mr. Mercer. The agreement stands." Vincent turned to me, desperation, panic, and rage all fighting for control on his face. "You knew," he cracked. "You knew about all of this." I met his eyes calmly. "I was your bookkeeper for 11 years, Vincent. I knew everything." The gavel came down. "Mrs. Dunst, you have your settlement. Mr. Mercer, you have the assets and the liabilities. This marriage is dissolved." I walked out. In the hallway, I could hear Vincent screaming at his lawyer. Through the glass doors, I saw Brittany's face change as she listened. She looked at Vincent, really looked at him, and saw a bankrupt man, not a sugar daddy. She was gone before I even reached the elevator. Her exit was faster than her entrance into my marriage. The collapse happened fast. Within 2 weeks, Brittany moved out, left a note saying, "This isn't what I signed up for." Within a month, the bank started foreclosure proceedings on the house. Within 2 months, the business line of credit was frozen. Vendors sued. Within 3 months, Vincent was filing for bankruptcy. Lorraine's precious son was showing up at relatives' houses, asking for loans, blaming me, claiming I tricked him, but the documents had his signatures on them. Even Lorraine went quiet. And Diane? My best friend? She called me a week after the hearing, crying. I had no idea things were this bad, Alexis. I'm so sorry. I didn't answer. Some bridges aren't meant to be repaired, but the best moment wasn't the courtroom. It was a month later. Tyler sat with me in my small apartment. I told him about the trust fund. I told him his future was safe. He hugged me, a real tight hug. I'm proud of you, Mom, he said. I used my $50,000 settlement to get established. I enrolled in interior design courses at the community college, the dream I put on hold at 23 to help Vincent. Vincent showed up at my door once. He looked terrible. Wrinkled suit, no watch, dark circles. He asked if we could talk, if maybe I can help him figure this out. I looked at the man who had discarded me. You asked for everything except Tyler, I said. I gave you exactly what you asked for. And I closed the door. I sat down in my small living room. It's not a mansion, but I painted the kitchen sage green. It's my color, my walls, my life. And for the first time in forever, I am completely, entirely free. Tone outro. And if you think that's satisfying, just wait until you hear what happened to Lorraine. But that's a story for another time.